Thanks for joining us here on AccuWeather Early. I'm Kristina Shalhoup.
And I'm Bree. It's a Wednesday, January 31st, the last day of January. Wow,
yeah, we are
already chugging along throughout this year.
Well, you know what's so exciting is on Friday, it's Groundhog Day, where a furry rodent tries to outdo us as meteorologists. But we have a little trick in our arsenal. We have our own long-range experts here. Our incredible long-range team coming up at 10:15 is going to be revealing our spring forecast. So we're going to be talking with lead long-range expert Paul Pastelok about what comes next for the spring season. But here and now, we'll take winter in the west, because winter is the wet season, and it's going to be a soaking wet day across the west coast.
Yeah, I mean, it is. 'Tis the season, right? We're talking about that heavy rain that's set to move on through not just the Golden State, but also a little bit further north. That's where we're seeing some showers now, but it's really California that we're going to be focused on that flooding threat. Meanwhile, on the opposite coast, I'm going to step out of the way so you can see it here. We have our Clipper system that we were tracking yesterday. It has slid south and east like we told you it was going to do. It's ejecting offshore, and well, it's not going to be a problem for too long throughout the rest of today, but still a little bit of a nuisance waking up.
Something to watch. Now, in terms of the temperatures in between,
storms that are about to unleash an incredibly wet week in California. The soaking storms will raise the flood threat across much of the state into next week. The first of the two potent atmospheric river storms will kick off today, though, across the region.
Now, most of California gets that steady rainfall, periods of strong winds as well. And then the snow is going to accumulate in the Sierra Nevada, which is actually a welcome sight, because the snowpack right now is only at about 52% of the historical average this time of year, so we could use a few extra flakes. But in Del Mar, California, headlines on this storm. We'll start with the time frame, and it's pretty straightforward. Right now through tomorrow. That's what we're dealing with in terms of the timeline of this storm. Heavy rain is the biggest concern here, because not only will the rain itself pose a problem of flooding, but we also have to talk about factors like burn scars, for example, where fires have previously charred the ground. Those areas are really susceptible to flash floods, because just like in drought conditions, that dried, charred ground, it doesn't let the water seep into the soil right away. It's like a cementing effect, so you get that flooding a lot more easily. We also have the concern for mudslides in those areas, with everything exposed and no vegetation to really help contain anything at all. Then there's the snow, which is such a double-edged sword here. When it comes to the Sierra, you know, we need that snow. Fun fact for you, the snowpack in California actually helps California get about 30% of its water supply. That's pretty big. So in the long term, we need to build the snowpack, but in the short term, travel is going to be an absolute mess through the California. LA in that 2 to 4. San Diego, you're in the 1 to 2 inch area, that pale green on the screen, but that's more than enough to cause problems, especially when it's paired with the damaging gusty winds, right? Those two things together are bad news bears. It means that some tree limbs, some weaker trees could come down pretty easily. And then as you're looking at power outages, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer at this point, right? We are concerned at power outages, considering, well, we could see gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Through future radar together, and you'll see that rain steadily spread south throughout the day. So this is this morning. Ready? We're going to play out the clock. Once we get to 1, 2, 3 p.m., that rain is soaking San Francisco, San Jose, and Fresno. It's just starting to get to you. The Sacramento Valley starts to really get wet late in the afternoon, and then by late tonight, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, just as we're approaching midnight, well, Los Angeles, you're starting to get the first of those raindrops. Now, the heaviest rain for LA and San Diego is really tomorrow, so if you live in either of those,
so if you're looking forward to the snow, we have more where that came from on the way, and we're also tracking, of course, that rain moving into SoCal, which is going to cause some problems, at least that we are trying to give you a heads up for, because there are certainly going to be possibilities tomorrow for flooding as well. Let's take a look at the current reservoir levels just to see where we are at still versus the historical average up to this point. We're still running above that in areas like Shasta, Oroville, even 4 feet. Heads up, difficult travel in and around the passes as well, but certainly some good news for the resorts. Big Bear
in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic, it's like we threw a little of everything at you.
Yeah, and when we talk about temperatures, though, this is probably the good news
on hand. Big story number 2, if you like it warm, well, just buckle up, kids. It's about to get nice and toasty, at least by Midwest standards. Oh, see, I knew you knew how to do the Dougie. I can't do the Dougie. You can dance so much better than I can, though, so we're working on that one step at a time. I'm going to get lessons from Bree. Here we go, though. 95.
All right, let's take it number 3 on our list, the return of the storms. Like we said earlier, really not bad over these next few days. It's going to be high and dry, but it's till Friday, and then as we head into the weekend, that's when our next round of heavy rain and thunderstorms are set to erupt here across the south.
Let's go on a trip. Here we go. You can see the green across the screen indicating that a lot of our travel forecast is actually pretty nice. If you're flying in and out of DFW or Houston or Atlanta, not too bad, but there's always a problem somewhere, and I found the problem today without too much question.